Okay, it's another one of our video breakdowns. This time we're going to take a look at Everyday John's work against Texas Tech on the defensive end. Shouts to Wild Bear. He's the individual who does a lot of the uploads for Baylor games. We'll have a chance to look at that. We looked at offense in our last one. Today we'll look at defense. LJ Cryer in the press conference today mentioned that John did get blown by a few times, but LJ followed that up by noting John in his first game back, that's to be expected, but pinpointed that he had a lot of great work defensively. And we're going to look at 4 clips that show what John can bring defensively for the Bears this season. The first one, we'll see Texas Tech eventually gets the ball in the corner here. So we've got John down on the wing. And this is an opportunity where what I want to really pinpoint is how effective John is energy-wise. Baylor used to always say during that championship season, the one thing you shouldn't have to coach or worry about is effort. And with John, that is never a concern. His effort is always absolutely to the max. And watch on this play how he goes back and forth to cut off driving lanes, ensure there can't be a post up, and goes back and forth to make the shot as difficult as possible in the corner for Texas Tech. So look here, effort play, stays there, drive, find a man, help out, rebound. That intensity and effort carried forward to the rest of the game. And on the next one, we'll see how John's communication is at such an elite level for Baylor's defense. Immediately, you see John is pointing and calling out the defense. I've mentioned this before, but I think it's a good story that bears worth repeating. During the championship campaign in Lucas Oil Stadium, Baylor took on Hartford. And it's a 116 game, so it's not going to be well attended all the time. But really credit to Hartford for how well they turned out for that game. And it still makes me sad to think that their program is not going to be Division I in basketball. But Hartford turned out well. But in a football stadium with the capacity restrictions they had during that COVID season, you really could hear well what the players were saying on the court. And even knowing you could hear well what the players said on the court, though, we were still very far away from John in the media seats down below because it's one end of the hoop to the other. And despite being 94 feet away, I was able to hear John call out ice, switch, and other pick and roll defenses. And immediately upon re-entering the game for the first time in over a year, you can see here that John is already calling out defenses and letting the Bears know what they need to do. Again, he's called out a second defense to let the Bears know up top, here's what you need to do. And he's also telling Langston Love that he needs to make sure to get out onto Kevin O'Banner. Nothing too crazy here. Love this, where John pushes Jalen Bridges out to the defender, or out as the defender to the wing to make sure that there won't be an easy three-point shot for Texas Tech. That's the kind of cachet that John has with the team, that he can just guide and direct other guys. Jalen gets out. We see John again, sprinting back out. Communication with Adam Flagler on the wing. Points out, tells Adam, you need to take him out here. I'll stay down low on O'Banner. Make sure to front O'Banner late in the clock. Shots up. Other capacity I love for John is he's always looking for a man to hit and box somebody out. It is tougher to offensive rebound if you are Baylor's opponent because of how effective John will be defensive rebounding. He always strives to find a man to box out. Even there, nobody's around him. It's an easy situation to get lazy. You're John, first time back in over a year. You're communicating multiple defensive responsibilities, both here for Langston Love, pushing Jalen Bridges on the other side up top. And still, despite not having anybody in your vicinity, he finds a man, boxes him out, and that allows the Baylor rebound. So we've had great communication by John. We've had great intensity on the 2 clips we've looked at. Now we're going to look at how the switchability for John makes Baylor's defense more effective. The 2018 Houston Rockets, I think, are the second best team of the last 20 years. I like the 2016 Cavs. I really enjoyed watching the 2012 Miami Heat. But I think despite running into the Warriors buzzsaw that season, I think that's the second or third best team. Maybe the 17-18 Warriors are the 2 best teams, and maybe the 18 Rockets fall below at 3. But I think that's the second best team or the third best team of the last 20 years, and maybe even extending out into history more than that. Those Rockets teams were very effective because they could switch every action. And the benefit of switching actions where whoever screen just takes the man, speaks to pick and roll basketball, and it speaks to pickup basketball. If you go to the open gym somewhere, you can't call out, hey, we're going to ice the pick and roll, or we're going to hedge the pick and roll very effectively because you don't have those responsibilities for 2 different men lined up, and those are hard defenses to master. The simplest thing is often the best thing because it is tough to take advantage of a well-executed switch beyond a matchup in isolation. And a guy like John with elite Athleticism still, even coming back from this injury, and with incredible wingspan, it's tough to get past. We'll run this clip and see some of the switches that Jon can make on this play. Right, up top, we've got Jon switching immediately. Comes here, and I love this. There's a handoff here so that Jon now will take Kevin O'Banner. And look, Jon immediately gets onto O'Banner, so the post-up opportunity is not there. Adam Flagler does a nice job getting out to the guard. And so Jon has switched both on the ball, and then he's made a nice switch. So there are better defenders, and the matchups can't be taken advantage of, which is what late switching can do if you're a team as well. So even if you switch early, if you have the opportunity to switch back late, you have hampered the early action by the offense, and then you have made it so the one advantage the offense has by switching, that if you had your preferred matchups, you wouldn't have Jon on a guard and you wouldn't have Adam on a forward. You can take that away by switching back again later in the clock. That requires good precision and good communication by two gentlemen. But given that Jon has now played 2 seasons at Baylor, redshirted another year, and Adam Flagler is in his 3rd season playing for Baylor and is redshirted another year, these are 2 guys that have played a lot together. I think understand their tendencies well. So we've got our original switch. Jon does a nice job making sure O'Banner can't post up. Jon comes out to the perimeter, doubles here, and this is a scramble situation. I was talking to a member of the Baylor program recently, and he said one of the things that separates elite defenses from other defenses is sometimes your defense will eventually bog down and not succeed, or they'll create scramble situations. And the national championship Baylor team that LaFonso Ellis and Seth Greenberg have said they believe was the best defense since the 1990s UNLV teams. One reason the coach I talked to said that he thought the defense was so good in 21 and what they thought the defense could really improve on down the stretch and what he was hopeful the defense could improve on down the stretch is that Baylor could get better in their scramble situations and the defense breaks down. And this is where Jon is so good. So he's double teamed, and you can even see Texas Tech's guard on the perimeter is pointing, saying, get the ball down low to O'Banner, who has a guard on him. Well, Jon's going to sprint back and get to O'Banner. And he doesn't sprint too quickly because he wants to make sure he's in position so there's not a flyby, and he gets on O'Banner. And this is again when I mentioned that Jon is a very intelligent person. I shared the story on Sikkim 365 that when I interviewed Jon back at ODB when I was writing for them in the site editor, I had a long interview with Jon over Zoom during that season. And he told me that when he first got to Australia, he didn't speak any English. And so he was a French speaker. And so he came down to Australia, and to do homework, he would have to get on Google Translate to figure out what his homework even was about. But now he speaks English at an incredible level, speaks French fluently. I mean, I wouldn't really know if he speaks French fluently, to be frank, because I took that for a couple years at Baylor and was god-awful. Only by the grace of God did the professors allow me to pass, graduate, and go on to do other things in my life. But that's neither here nor there right now. What is here and there right now is the intelligence Jon displays. Shot clock awareness is sometimes lacking in college basketball and can be frustrating, because it's a component that if you're not great at basketball, you can think, well, I know what the clock is when I watch the games, but it is a tiring experience to play elite level basketball. Always thinking, what's the assignment? What do I have to do? What's my man? Where's the ball? Where's my opponent's other players going to be? Where is the rest of our defense going to be? So Jon here does a nice job recognizing 6 seconds left. I'm going to press O'Banner, make it tough for him to create. Comes out to O'Banner. And again, nice thing about Jon, realizes when that shot's that bad, O'Banner's not going to be the possible rebounder. Let's get out. Let's try and body a man. Let's try and make it easier to offensive rebound. So another great set by Jon there. Final one we'll look at is another switch by Jon. So we get it here, and Tech at 15 seconds has now executed their switch. But this is the trouble with trying to drive on Jon. Length, he's got his hand up, which means if Tech wants to go up here, Jon's got the possibility of, if not a block, at least a good contest. And he's riding the hip well, which makes it tougher for the offensive player to get that kind of space or extension he might want to have. And Jon is also strong, so Tech's guard is not going to be able to overpower Jon. Now Tech gets the pass out and gets a 3-point opportunity, but it's already happened too late. There has been a shot clock violation, no buckets for them. So when I look at what Jon could do for Baylor, it's a combination of intensity, intelligence, athleticism, switchability, and most importantly, communication. It could take Baylor's defense, which has been the thing that's hampered an offense that is so effective getting to the championship level, to the level that I think could be necessary to contend for a national championship. And it's why I continue to offer the theory that as long as Baylor stays healthy, they may not catch the top of the Big 12 standings where Iowa State, Texas and KU might have a schedule advantage, but by the time April rolls around, if there's any team still playing in the Big 12, it will be Baylor.